top 15 board always. We just need to see him always on the first board, always the soft leader, and sometimes things are not going that way. Here we have the Caro-Kann defense.
Yeah, and Aronian playing the system with H3 in the sort of, it's an exchange Caro-Kann, but not playing one of the systems with C4. It's a solid system with C3. And Levon has had these positions various times before. The situation is very clear. Black has got this isolated D pawn, but in return he's got active pieces and good piece mobility. And also here White is missing his D3 bishop, which you would tend to think really benefits Black, because you can get similar positions via a French defense move order, but White manages to keep that light squared bishop. So whenever I was looking at this line, I always felt like this was not a line to trouble to trouble Black. I felt Black had absolutely no problems here. And Fedoseev clearly thinks the same.
That's right. Why knight on e7? He usually will like to play knight on f6.
You play knight e7 because you can meet moves like bishop g5 with f6, and you can then use the f5 square to develop the piece like you just did there. So bishop f5 gaining tempo on the queen. And now, for example, you can play f6. It's not completely necessary. You can play rook a to e8. Plenty of different moves here for Black. The queen and bishop on c7 and d6 could also be rearranged or improved. Also, actually, there's no need to really play f6 now. Rook a e8 is a move. There's plenty of moves. Bishop f4.
Bishop e4 can be also a move.
Sorry, bishop e4 is a move. And yeah, you just have to safeguard that d pawn, and if you do that, your position is just fine. So with the pawn already committed to c3 with White, having the light squared bishop really makes a big difference. So I think f6 is pretty standard here. He does go rook e8. He doesn't want to create any additional weaknesses.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking actually. If White captures even this d5 pawn, two bishops in the endgame are real power, and it can easily compensate one pawn. So White is not really considered to capture that pawn, but instead he goes to blockade it with the knight on d4, and now Aronian is developing the queen side.
Yep, he brings the knight over to d2 and f3 very quickly, establishing that knight, blockading the isolated pawn. If you guys know your chess theory, of course, blockading an isolated pawn with a knight especially, is normally the way forward. And Fedoseev looking to get active, he plays rook e4, intending to double on the e-file. I like this move very much. Queen b3 I also like by Levon Aronian, attacking the d5 pawn. Fedoseev going to kick this bishop away, probably. And then Levon is going to have to find a place for that bishop. Does it go to e3? Does it go to d2? Not entirely clear which is the better square for it. Probably d2 if I had to guess. And Levon playing very quickly. I don't think queen takes d5s or any funny businesses on the menu, because rook e1 and hg5 looks good. He does go to e3 though, so he's saying
he's not really capturing that pawn. Not yet.
Well, the knight comes back to e7, so a little bit cagey by Fedoseev. And I think Levon's position has improved over the past few moves, and now he has to decide if he wants to play knight b5 and win the light squared bishop, if that's something he wants to do. Which he could do, because he wins a bishop by force, either the light squared bishop or the dark squared bishop. And he does play knight b5. So this makes a lot of sense. And now Fedoseev takes, queen takes b5. Now a move like queen c6 makes sense. a6 also, of course, and maybe followed up by b5. Standard position, but the more pieces that come off the board, the more Aronian probably likes his position in general. in these isolated queen's pawn positions, the more trades of minor pieces helps the side playing against the isolated pawn.
Yeah, that's right. Black just played rook, another rook on e-file to double it, and Levon goes for some trade offers. Bishop d2, and he will be happy if black captures both of the rooks of the board.
Yeah, black will probably play queen c6 or queen c4 here. Queen c6 knight d4, sorry, is a bit of an issue. So he goes queen b6. Now, this is an interesting move because he's targeting the b2 pawn. So rook takes e4, d takes e4, queen takes e4, queen takes b2 looks satisfactory according to Fedoseev. So you've now got to do something. 26 seconds now for Aronian. Being a bit slow in this game. Is he getting a little tired in the tournament? Potentially. We're already 10 rounds in. This is where you start to feel the tiredness.
Yep.
Okay, b4 by Aronian. Odd move because you give yourself a backward c pawn on c3. b3, for example, is the much more standard reply there, but Levon Aronian can be very creative and believe that this was better. 37 seconds now for Fedoseev. Gotta do something. Difficult to say because he wants to defend the d5 pawn, decides to take. What's the idea here? And queen c7. Okay, interesting. The knight is pinned, so it can't move. a4, gaining space. Definitely white is better here.
Yeah, probably he wants to move the rook away now, and then knight finally be free. And knight goes on c6. d5 pawn now is untouchable as bishop h2 wins a queen. We have seen already too much of queen blunders. I don't think Aronian will capture that pawn right now.
Aronian plants the bishop on b6 and bishop c7. Trying to counter that. 16 seconds for Aronian. Decides to take it off, and is he going to play knight d4? Yeah, he's just going to play this better position. And Fedoseev has actually got a serious defensive task here.
97 back in passive. Rook e3. I like this move, rook e3. It also guards c3 pawn. Knight e6.
Oh.
That kind of forces black to capture this knight, and now queen comes on g6, and black has weakness on e6.
Yeah,
can he capture queen e6?
You can, but he's relying on the fact that he can take and play. And we have a classic and g4. Excellent technique by Levon. And Fedoseev in real desperate trouble here because
too many weaknesses, and the passive rook also on the 7th rank has to be stuck on b7 pawn.
Yeah, he's got one of those issues where white has already established a nicely advanced position with his pawns on the queen side. He's got a hook on b6, so the rook can just sit there targeting two weaknesses. And now this might even be a relatively simple task for white if he brings the king to f4 now, or rook g6 check. He had to give up the pawn. He gave up the pawn to get active, but it's no good because now rook b6.
Rook b6? No, rook b6 might lose.
No, because you had the two pawns, but it wasn't.
Rook b6 looked really tempting for white.
Now rook b6, and now actually it's f and h, but the rook is what's going on here? Why isn't there rook g7, king h8? King always goes in the corner.
But how about f7 next move?
Oh.
Ooh.
What happened here?
Resignation. Why this is a lost? King h8, f7,
f7,
f8, h7. That's why.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't understand why he didn't give the checks, because I didn't see... the king was just going to come all the way backwards.
It doesn't really matter, because whenever you push the pawn on the 7th rank, then you have rook g8 and then...
That's right.
Queen.